Hi and welcome to another video, Positive Parents, Happy Kids. Today we're looking at the top 10 things that you need to know before using positive behaviour management. This can include using positive behaviour management by being a teacher or by being a parent. It could even mean you could use these tips on your partner in your relationships or your boss. Take a look at it and just use it how you feel it fits into your life with any of the relationship. But before we start, I ask that you make a comment. Tell me what you want to hear me talk about, anything in relation to positive mindset, positive behaviour management, positive parenting, positive classroom management, anything like that. Tell me how you like my videos, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share them if you do like them. Alright, let's get started. Number 1, prevention is better than intervention. If we are able to look at a child's environment, look at any sort of triggers that can set them off, if we prevent those triggers or prevent that environment from escalating behaviour or making behaviour worse in some way, that is a better way of dealing with it rather than having to intervene and actually talk to a child about their behaviour or allow that child to be set up for failure. Because if we haven't set our environment up, if we haven't set everything up for our child, we are setting them up for failure. It could be as simple as like you move into a new house, you're choosing bedrooms, you've got your youngest child in a bedroom that's next to the garage of the neighbour's always working on their car, banging until 9 and 10 o'clock at night. That's not good if you're looking at developing sleep patterns for your youngsters. So it's things like that. Okay, number 2, all behaviour is a form of communication. Yes, every little bit of behaviour, the good behaviour and the bad behaviour, is all a way of communicating to you. Children are not as emotionally intelligent as adults because they haven't gone through those stages. They might not be able to communicate how they're feeling, what they're thinking, how their body is feeling. So we need to know that they are communicating with their bad behaviour just as much as their good behaviour. So if we give them something that is really, really cold, they might jump up or throw their food away when they're an infant or a toddler. That's them telling you that it's too cold because they find in that situation they cannot communicate that to you. So we have to always understand that every behaviour is a form of communication. Now that's not to say that there are absolutely dreadful behaviours by adults and some children that actually gets them into prison, but that still is a form of communication. It's generally when adults or teenagers are committing dreadful crimes, it is a form of communication about their life experiences, what they've gone through in the past, and actually what they've gone through in the past may be a lot worse than just cold food. Number 3, behaviour always gets worse before it gets better. If a child is already stuck in a behaviour routine that is inappropriate behaviour, then it's going to be hard to break that cycle. So what you are going to realise is they're going to fight you on that cycle because it's a comfort zone for them. Their behaviour, whether it's inappropriate or not, is a comfort zone. So you are taking them out of their comfort zone. That behaviour is how they communicate to you, I'm not happy. We might not be happy with the behaviour, but they're telling us through their behaviour that they're not happy. So it's going to take a while to crack that down. You need to be consistent with your behaviour. It will get better in the long run, but just recognise that they may get worse and that might make you think it's not working. Give it a go, especially for a period. Choose a period that you know your child can adapt to and go with it. And then if you can't see the improvement after a particular time, not one day, not 2 days, not a week, maybe a couple of weeks, then you may need to change what you're doing. So this is really important. Number 4, do not encourage inappropriate behaviour when children are younger, because sometimes we allow them to get away with some forms of tantrums. We need to put the positive behaviour strategies in then. Yes, it may be different to how we might implement our positive behaviour strategy when they're older, but we must always put it in. Always in the back of your mind, think, if I don't correct this behaviour now, what's it going to be like in 10 years' time when they are older? So just be aware of that one. Really important to not allow inappropriate behaviour at a younger stage. You manage it differently, but you make sure you are implementing positive behaviour management. Number 5, always important to know where your children are at. And I'm not talking about where they are then down the street. I'm talking about where they are in terms of learning about behaviour or being able to regulate emotions. You need to know whether they're ready for the strategy that you're putting into place, because it's not going to work if they're not advanced. It's like giving a child that can't read some instructions in writing. You're not going to do that. You're going to use pictorial pictures, drawings, hand signals, all these types of things, which you can still use with people or children that can read. So it's just really important to know where they're at, because all children are different and they learn at different speeds. Number 6 is ensuring your expectations are realistic. Is your child going to be able to sit there quietly for 3 hours? I don't think any child could do that. So do not put that expectation in. You're setting them up for failure. How long do you think your child can sit quietly for while you have guests or whatever the instructions are? Is it 5 minutes? 10 minutes? If you don't think they can sit there at all, then excuse them from your gathering. Say, look, you can go and play in your room if you like. Do not set expectations that you know you're going to have to implement behaviour strategies with that child when you don't want to. You want them to, the whole idea about behaviour management is to get self-empowerment for children, get them making their own decisions, understanding this is a rule, this is how I need to behave. And that's what we're trying to learn. We do not want to get into a position where we're correcting behaviour constantly, because it's not working what you're doing. We need children to correct their own behaviour, so we need to set them up to have realistic expectations that they can live towards, and then we can say, I know you can do this. So we can big them up. I know you can do this. You can be successful with this. So that's how we're going to do it. Make sure they're realistic expectations. Number 7, children without boundaries will seek them, and this goes in with the last one. You must set expectations. Children without boundaries will seek their own boundaries. A good example, as you know, my daughter is on the autistic spectrum, so I need to set boundaries for her, because she will set make-believe boundaries or internet boundaries, especially with teenagers. They'll go and say, well, they do this on the internet. We need to make sure that they know what the boundaries are, because they'll set their own and it might not match what we want. It's really, really important. So setting boundaries, or they will find their own. And you cannot criticize a child for finding their own boundaries if you are not putting them in place, or your boundaries are too weak. They need to be realistic. So you can either be too harsh with your expectations or too soft. It's got to be a middle ground. It's got to be realistic. Number 8, we've got to be consistent with our principles. But then we have to be flexible in practice, because there are sometimes other factors in play that can affect a child's behaviour, and they're not following of a particular rule. There may be a very good reason for it. So sometimes we do have to show a little bit of leniency and understanding. If you need to praise them for something they did good, or you might need to just give them that reminder, well, next time remember. Especially if we are implementing expectations at the start, you're going to have to give them reminders. Don't criticize them every time they make a mistake when you're implementing something new. You need to give them a chance to get used to your rules, get used to the expectations. I'm not saying be lenient, I'm just saying just be flexible. Make sure they are aware that you understand that they still broke a rule, but you're giving them a reminder, or you're saying, I understand that you did it for this reason. That's okay, but next time remember I'm still watching how you speak, or whatever the expectation is. Really, really important, that one. We can't be inflexible. Children won't learn that way, and they'll end up digging their heels in as well. We have to look like we're reasonable adults. Number 9, really, really important. They're all important, but this one is the crux of all behaviour management, especially when you have siblings or you're teaching a class. Fair is not giving everyone the same thing. Fair is giving an individual what they need in order to be successful. That's what fairness is. So you might get your different bedtimes for siblings. Siblings that are older go to bed at a later time. Younger ones will whinge and complain about it, but you need to explain to them why there is that. They don't need as much sleep. When you're younger, you need more sleep. You can be very intellectual about it if that's how your child is, or you can just say that's the rules. When they were 8, they had to go to bed at this time as well. And the same in the class. Children need to understand that some children are going to get more reminders. An example is if you're a teacher in a class, you've got a child with ADHD and who finds it difficult to sit down for longer periods of time. Other children might be given one reminder to sit down. Your ADHD child might be giving 3-4 reminders before they get a sanction for sitting down, because they find it much more difficult. So we have to treat them as individuals. So fairness is what you need to give that child in order to be successful. Really important. We don't want to set our children up for failure. We want to set them up for success. Success breeds happiness. Number 10 is be positive, be calm, and be consistent. It's really important to be all these 3 things. Find the positives in what they're doing. Be calm every time you talk to them, even when you're giving a sanction. Be calm and be consistent. They will look for you not being consistent. They will look for the times when you don't pick them up on a rule. You will have to be consistent. But if you're calm, it's not going to be taxing on you. You'll be reminding them. And in the end, it might not be verbal communication you'll be giving to them. It might just be a look. And like teachers have a teacher look, where they just look at a child and the child corrects their behaviour. That is what we want from our children. Self-correction. So my eye contact's going to correct that child's behaviour, whereas it used to be my voice. We need to get to a stage where the children are self-correcting. So be positive, be calm, and be consistent. Children are the future. We need them to feel successful, feel empowered, regulate their emotions, and be happy. Positive parenting breeds happy kids. Sending positive and healing thoughts, love and light to you all.